Hello everyone, I am Daniel Duskalski with ACC Telecom. Today's video is going to be learning how to use your 3CX web client. The 3CX web client is a browser-based interface that the 3CX provides to all 3CX users. Basically what you're going to get during installation, you'll have a welcome email pushed out to you, and in that welcome email you'll have your link and your login credentials to reach your web client. The web client can be accessed from anywhere, on-site, off-site, in the office, from home, doesn't matter, even works from cell phones using Safari on Apple or Google on Android. Anywhere you can access a web browser, you can get to the web client. Basically, when you go to the link for the web client, you're going to get a login screen, and here you would log in with the credentials that would be given to you in your welcome email. And once you've logged in, this is what you're going to see. You've got some menu options down the left-hand side here. The first screen that comes up is the people screen, which is basically everybody in your business, what their status is, their presence, and things like that. The web client can function in a couple different ways. And what I mean by that is up here in the right-hand corner, you have a drop-down menu where you can choose how you want your web client to function. First way is it can function by itself, plain old web client. This here would be as a soft phone environment. So you'd have to have some type of headset, USB, whatever it may be, plugged into your computer, or a laptop. You could even use the built-in microphone and speaker. But this here, you would have no desk phone involved, and all of the audio would be going through your computer. The other option is if you do have a desk phone, the web client can actually control the desk phone. So if you have a desk phone, all of your call control and things like that can be done from here. So you still get all the features that the web client will provide, but the audio portion of the phone call will be handled by the desk phone. And then the third option, which is a really nice feature, it can actually control the smartphone app that's for iOS and Android. And 3CX, along with the web client, provides a mobile app that allows you to get your desk extension calls on that app through your cell phone, along with various other features. There will be a follow-up video to this showing you how to use that web client. But if you were to put, to use the mobile client. If you choose the smartphone option, all of the audio will then be controlled through the mobile client on the cell phone. Your call control and everything can still be done from here. All the other various features the web client gives you are still accessible from here. Your audio is just handled by the smartphone app. Some other things the web client can do here, off on the right-hand side, you can control which profile your extension is currently using. With 3CX, every extension gets 5 profiles that they can put themselves in. You've got available, away, do not disturb, lunch, and this usually is called business trip by default, but the lunch and business trip can be renamed by the user for something that fits for them. So you can see I've renamed one of mine to vacation, and I put a little message here. If you click either one of the pencil icons next to these profiles, you can actually change what the custom message is for that particular profile. So this particular one for vacation, I've got on there that I'm off through 7/19. And I update that every time I go on vacation. Each one of these individual profiles has different sets of rules as far as ringing, where your calls go, and they can all have different voicemail greetings as well. To enable a different one, I just simply click on the one I want, and that will then update my profile setting, and anybody else having the web client or PC software open can see that I put myself in that particular order on this people screen. Any custom status messages I put, they'll actually see that on the screen as well. I probably can go ahead and do this so you can see. So I enabled do not disturb, my little icon changed to red, and I've got on there that I'm in a meeting, as that's what my profile says for do not disturb. To put myself back in available, I choose available, it instantly changes, and this would be that way for every user in the phone system using this screen, or PC software, or even the mobile client. The mobile client also has a present screen where you can see the same information. Some other things up here on the right-hand side, you can change your avatar picture from other locations, but this gets you into basically individual menu options for your account. change your account password, change your profile image, things like that. Resend credentials would re-push the welcome email out. Download the 3CX app, which is the physically installed PC software. With the web client, there's no installation of anything. You're just opening a browser, logging into a web page, and off you go. But they do have a physically installed PC software, which I do actually have on here. I have a separate video that goes through how to use this, but it's just another way to use the features that the 3CX provides if you didn't want to do it from a web browser. The scan QR code has to do with the mobile app. You can configure the mobile app by either a config file attached to the welcome email or by scanning a QR code. 3CX for iPhone, 3CX for Android. These will be download links to the mobile apps that I was talking about earlier. And the install 3CX click to call. This is a separate piece of software, really having to do with call centers and things like that. The 3CX gives you the ability to install a plugin on your website to where they can chat and instantly turn a chat into a phone call or a full-blown web meeting, all right from your website, all built into the 3CX. And then settings will get you into various settings, which I'll get into that later down on the left-hand side here. Exit client would just simply log you out of the account you're currently logged into. The little Q here has to do with queue status. The 3CX does have built-in ACD, automatic call distribution or call queuing, and I can simply log in and log out of a queue that I'm a part of by simply clicking or unclicking that queue. The field here, I can enter phone numbers from here, names if it's in a directory, or I can hit the little dial pad to actually manually dial a phone number from here. Again, where the audio comes from will depend upon your setting over here under how you want your web client to function. Go back to the people screen. So down the left-hand side here, I'll start going through some of these. The people screen, again, is just a present screen of everyone in your company. You've got all groups, a favorite group, and the default group. For us here, we only have the default group, so everybody's part of the default group. So when looking at all groups, nothing really changes because it's just that one group. But if you were a larger organization and you wanted to lump people together, like all of your sales department in a separate group, all of your admins in a separate group, you would have that list of groups down here to choose from and be able to click on that and minimize what you see here. The favorites tab has to do with the little star icon on any individual in this screen. If I were to click the star, it fills it in black. Now, if I were to go to favorites, that individual is there. I can remove them from the favorites by simply clicking the star again, and they go back to whatever group they were in. Just because they're in favorites doesn't mean they no longer exist in the groups. So this favorites would just be for me, but I could still access them from the groups as well. The other icons here on any one of these users, the little handset icon will actually place a phone call to that user's extension. Clicking the bubble over here will also do the same thing. But this will dial the extension number, and again, the audio is controlled by what you've got set here. The video button would place a video call. So if the individual is using the PC software, web client with a web camera involved, or they have a desk phone that has video built into it, and you've got the same scenario, you can actually place a video phone call to that person's extension as well. The next icon is to start an internal IM chat. So the 3CX does supply the ability for inter-office instant messaging for anybody using the web client, the PC software, or the mobile software. All three pieces can control the instant message chat, and all of that is the same across all profiles. So I simply were to click this piece here, it opens up my chat option over here, instantly opening a chat to Barry, and I can type anything down in here and send it off. Hit the share. Let me get rid of this piece here. Hit the little envelope to actually send it, or press enter, and it would send the call off. Go back to the people screen. Next icon is to start an instant web meeting. The 3CX provides a built-in audio conference bridge, as well as a web and video conferencing for web video conferencing, collaboration, and things like that, just like a GoToMeeting would be. Built into the phone system, the 3CX provides that as part of its software. Clicking this link would open up that piece and start an instant web meeting with this individual. I'm actually using the 3CX web meeting to do this recording. If I were to go to this tab, this is where you can see this is the web meeting platform for 3CX. I'll go through some of this in a second when I get to that section, but I'm actually using that to do this recording. The star we went over, that's the favorites. The three little dots get you into a couple other options. I can do an intercom call, which would be a voice announce. So just dialing the extension, the user's phone will ring and they would have to pick up before they can actually talk to them. If I do intercom, it does like a voice announce to the individual where it just bursts through, you get a beep, and it's all hands-free at that point. If the user has an email associated to them in the 3CX, I can click on the email icon. It opens up my default email client and starts an email to the individual. I can click on leave a voicemail to leave them a voicemail message, or click to call mobile if the user has a mobile number filled into their profile. These buttons all function exactly the same no matter which particular user you're on. If it's a user that doesn't have a certain piece, one of the icons may be gone. Whatever is available there will be there. If they don't have the availability for it, it'll be gone. And that's the people screen. The next icon, or the next menu item here on the left-hand side, is contacts. So the system has, in the old days, they were called system speed dials. Same scenario here, but they call them contacts nowadays. So you've got company profile, company contacts, and you can have personal contacts. Company contacts are something that a system admin would have access to adding to, or we can add for you as your system administrator. But basically, you're just building a list of phone numbers that everyone in the company can have access to. This currently here shows you a list of what's currently there. I'm looking at all contacts right now. So this would be showing any company contacts and any personal contacts that I currently have. The only personal contact I have is my wife, and she should be showing up in here somewhere. Oh, wrong one, sorry, all contacts, and she's here. So this is basically these two together all on one screen. If I just want to look at company contacts, I click on company, I see just those information here. I can add a new one from up here. If I click new contact, I simply fill in the first name, the last name. I could attach a picture to it if I wanted to, what company they're with, an email address, a mobile number, all the information that I want to fill in. Click the save icon, and they'd now be added to the company list. If they're in the company profile, anybody in the company can access that user or that contact. This icon here will be to import a list you already have. So if you had a lot of contacts and they're already in some form of Excel format, you could then import those instead of having to manually add them here. Deleting contact, this would be deleting all contacts that are in the list. If I wanted to delete an individual contact, each contact has their own trash can icon that I can remove from here. I can also edit any individual contact by clicking the pencil icon, or calling the contact by clicking the handset or the button. Either one of those would actually place a phone call to the number that's actually in the demo. And then personal contacts, same way. These would just be numbers that only you would have access to. The chat menu, we were kind of in here before when I clicked on the chat icon from the people screen, but this is basically a listing of all the current conversations I had going on. You can delete conversations, you can keep conversations, totally up to what you need to do. Keeping them is nice because you can go back and easily pick up where you left off, or use that to just start a new conversation with the user, leveraging that existing conversation that was there. The icon up here would compose a brand new chat, and if I were to do so, it's then going to ask me what individual do I want to chat with. And here I can start typing an extension number, or I could start typing by name, and it'll bring up matches based on what I'm typing in. Once I were to choose a user and add them to it, I could add more. So if I wanted to do a group chat, I can add as many people to this as I need to and send one IM chat to all those individuals at once. Here, I'll just do one. I click OK, it starts that chat. And you can see I've already had a conversation going on with this user. So at that point, it just opened up that existing conversation, and I can continue on right from here. The three little dots here will show you any archived conversations that you may have. You do have the ability to archive as opposed to delete conversations, and you can access those from here. So pretty straightforward, but it's a built-in IM chat, all part of the phone system. Call history. This is a full-blown history of all phone calls for your extension. And this is an extension, isn't calls that I just answered through my web client. This is any call that rang my desk extension, whether it's mobile app, desk phone, PC software, web client, doesn't matter. It's all phone calls to and from my extension. And I can sort over here how I want to look at these by all phone calls, incoming only, outgoing only, missed calls, or abandoned. Abandoned phone calls in this scenario would be calls that rang my phone, I didn't pick up, and didn't go to voicemail. So maybe the individual hung up before voicemail picked up, or it was a call that was part of a ring group that somebody else answered, that kind of scenario, but it wasn't picked up by me and did not go into my voicemail. Missed calls would be calls that rang my extension, I didn't answer, but voicemail did. So you do get a differentiation between missed call and abandoned. And on any one of these screens, off on the right-hand side, you've got some icons. I can see the caller ID information for the call, the date, the time, duration of the call. I can click the little handset icon to call that number back. I can hit the plus sign to add this number instantly to the contacts. So if this is something I knew, you know what, I want to save that as a contact. I don't need to write that number down and go back to contacts and manually build it. I can click the add button and it'll kind of auto-fill the information on the contact screen, save it, and they're now part of the contacts. And you can also delete call records as well. So if I want to delete that call memory, I just simply hit the delete trash con and it's gone. Voicemail access, I can access any voicemails I may currently have from the web client. You'll see them as kind of a list, like an email layout, but just a list of voicemails, the date, the time, where it came from. I can choose to listen to them from here, delete them from here. Doesn't matter, it's just simply voicemail. I can search if I had a whole bunch of voicemails and there was one particular voicemail I was looking for and I knew the name or phone number that call came from. I can search that in here and it would bring up that particular voicemail in the screen. This icon here would have to do if you actually had messages for checking off the boxes next to the voicemail. So let's say I had 50 voicemails and I just wanted to quickly delete them all. I should check that box there. Every single checkbox next to those 50 voicemails will be selected, and I can then choose a trash can icon that'll appear after that to delete all the voicemails. The schedule conference icon, this one here, is you can actually schedule a web and video or audio conference for either instant start or future start. I simply click on the little plus icon. I choose whether it's going to be audio or video. I choose whether I want it to start now or later. If I choose now, as soon as I hit create meeting, boom, it's instantly going to start. If I choose later, I got to choose a date, a time, a duration, give it a subject, give it some notes. And then from down here, it's what kind of web meeting profile do I want to leverage. There are two different profiles. There's web meeting and there's webinar classroom. Web meeting, really the difference between these two are the default settings for the participants in the meeting. If I do web meeting, if you click the little wrench icon here, it'll actually show you what those settings are. By default, all participants, audio is turned on, video is turned on, and chat is turned on. You can set the bit rate in the meeting location, but these are the default settings for the web meeting profile. If I choose the webinar profile, the difference there is only the organizer is going to have everything turned on. All of the other participants will have audio turned off, video turned off. Only their chat function will be enabled. The organizer would then be able to manually enable those features for individuals as needed, but the default setup would be this, more like a classroom environment. So the organizer is doing all the talking. Everyone else in the meeting is just simply listening. The way you add participants is slightly different for the two profiles as well. In the web meeting, it can integrate with different calendars, or you can choose iCal or 365 Direct Mail. Me personally, as long as you use Outlook, Outlook on your computer, the iCal is great. Basically, when you choose iCal and you create the meeting, it's going to have you save an Outlook appointment file that you can then open in your Outlook, add your participants from there, and send the actual invite directly from Outlook. What's nice about that is Outlook gives you that ability to see when someone accepts that meeting, declines that meeting, or whatever it may be, and you'll get all that because you're sending the invite directly from Outlook. If I send the invite through 3CX, I will not get that. The 3CX is just going to simply send the invite out with the information in that they need to join the meeting, but you're not going to get any kind of response back about so-and-so accepted or so-and-so declined. So doing the iCal is nice. But if you do use Google or Office 365, it can auto integrate with those as long as the settings are in place to do so. And when you have a meeting scheduled, you'll see any currently scheduled meetings here. So I've actually got one scheduled for next week for an admin training for a customer that's already cut over to 3CX. I simply go in here. I can click on this when it's time to start. There'll be a join button that I can go into and actually join that meeting when the time comes up. This web meeting button here, I'm not going to click because what that's going to do is actually start an instant live meeting, which basically would do this. It's going to open up this here, open a live meeting with just me in it, which I'm using this to do the recording that I'm doing right now. And within here, you've got, in essence, a go-to meeting environment or a Webex meeting environment built right in. So you can do video. My screen on my laptop is closed, so you won't see my video anyway. But I can turn on and off the video as needed. I can mute my audio. This button here is to start a recording, which is what I'm doing right now. This here would be the screen share, which I'm doing right now as well. And when you do a screen share, a little box will come up asking you whether you want to share your entire screen or if you want to share individual application screen that you may have open on your computer. So when you share your desktop, it does not have to be your entire desktop. If you were just sharing an Excel sheet, you can choose that Excel window and only share the Excel application. The little paper clip is to share a PDF document directly in the meeting screen. So if you had a PDF that you wanted to share, you don't have to share your desktop just to see that file. You can actually share a PDF directly in the screen. This icon is for Whiteboard. Just brings up a whiteboard for drawing purposes, just like you would see a whiteboard in a conference room. This one here is to start a poll. So you do have the ability to create questions that will then get sent out to the participants in the meeting, and the organizer will see those responses as the participants answer those questions. And this one here would be to leave or end the meeting. Off on the right-hand side, there's an icon here to invite people. So if I started an instant meeting, it's only going to be me in it until I bring people in. And I can click the invite people button, and it'll bring up a list. I can type in a name, type in an email, get all my people in the list. Click the OK button, and at that point, an invite email will be sent via 3CX to those individuals that you listed there with a link for them to then join this meeting. There's settings here to get into different settings. You can control your multimedia, your audio devices, what video, what camera's being used, those type of things, just generalized settings for the software on your computer. This is a help file, and this is to take it to full screen. Here will be a list of all of the participants. You would see them all listed. You'll see options here next to different participants for making them an organizer, making them the presenter, and so forth. And then down here is your meeting chat. So any chats that happen to go through would all be listed here for everyone to see. And further down, you've got your kind of standard GoToMeeting scenario reaction icons. I raise my hand, I agree, I disagree, I have a question, those kind of things. This one here is to upload a file to the meeting. This one here would be to toggle the chat and join notification sounds. And this one here would be send any chat you have in here. Pressing enter does the same thing, but I could type something in here and then press the arrow to send that chat. So it's a full-blown GoToMeeting environment, all supplied by the 3CX software. So back to the web client. A couple icons left to go through here. The switchboard, This basically is going to show you the active calls that are currently going on, and you can look at different information over here based on what you have built in your phone system. We have ACD enabled here for our service department, along with a demo queue and some other things. So I can look at just queue calls that are going on. There's a wall board built in here. So for anybody that's a large call center that has that room where everybody sits in one area, a bunch of cubicles, big TV on the wall to see what the overall stats are, you can put something like this. It's all built into the 3CX. Put this on that big TV so everybody gets a real quick icon look of what's going on in the call center. And then I can also look at individual queues that we have set up. This one here will be, this is the call that's currently going in that queue. These are all the agents that are part of that queue and what their statuses currently are. If you got a grayed out queue, that user's not logged in. If it's a bluish queue, that agent's logged into the queue and accepting phone calls from that queue. The demo queue is just something we have built for demo purposes. This we actually use, I mentioned earlier, the chat ability from your website. We actually use that here, and this is a queue that's created for those incoming chat messages. And then reminders, you can also set up any kind of reminders that you may have for yourself later in the future. The recordings, the system does have built-in call recording, so I can access any call recordings that were for my extension. Admins do have the ability to allow or disallow the ability of deletion of recordings. So if you had call recording enabled for certain users and you did not want them the ability to delete those, the trash can icon would not be there or would not function. I can currently see all these recordings. I can download that recording file. I can play that recording file over my phone. I can call the number back that's associated to that call recording, delete the recording if I have rights, and again, add that to contacts based on the information in the call. And you can select multiple recordings at once to either delete or download as needed. Currently looking at all recordings because I am set as an admin. If I wasn't set as an admin, I'd really only see my recordings. But they did add the ability in here for all recordings. So as an admin, I can allow certain people to see all recordings in the system and not just their own. So if there's certain managers for departments that need to see all calls in their department, they can get that from here. The last main icon here is for settings. Let's get you into a couple different things. The general settings here are basically what language you're using, what device to use for calls. So this corresponds to that drop down that's up here. So if I were to change this to smartphone, that'll change to smartphone. Just another place to change that setting. I can enable my mobile number here. So if I didn't have one currently typed in, you can type one in there. I can upload a picture. And then down here are just different options for chat settings and other things. In the personalize option, this is basically how I sort information, whether group presence is on, how my active calls show, what my queues look like, and what the wallboard says and looks like and what queues it shows. So just individual settings for my individual web client. The call forwarding menu, this is where I can adjust what my profiles do. So in available, I can do, well, it rings my phone for 24 seconds and then goes to my voicemail. In the do not disturb profile, it goes directly to voicemail and give the status message of in a meeting. So this is where I can control what those profiles do based on when I activate them. Same thing for the lunch and business trip. Here's where I can change what that profile is called. Again, they're called lunch and business trip by default. I just changed one of mine to vacation. And then exceptions, you can build in specialized exceptions for caller ID based routing. So if I had a scenario where, well, I'm in DND, but if somebody from a certain caller ID calls me, route that differently. And it can do that. It'll pick up on the caller ID and ignore your profile setting and route based on your exception role for that particular caller ID. The greetings menu over here is where you can change your voicemail greetings. So just like I mentioned before, you have a default greeting, but then you can also have a different greeting for each individual profile if you needed that. You can see my last one here was when we went to Hershey. So I had a Hershey vacation on there. I can upload recordings that I may have done offline with a microphone. I can download the recording that's currently there to listen to it, play it, or I can record a greeting up here. If I do play, it basically makes my phone ring. I answer it and I listen to the recording that's there. Record greeting kind of functions the same way. I click record, I give the file some kind of name, and when I click OK, my phone will ring, I answer it, I do my recording. After that, it'll then be in the drop-down for me to then choose as an active greeting for whichever profile I want to turn it on for. Integration has to do with CRM integration. I won't really go too much into that. The scan QR code, this again has to do with the mobile app. You can configure that by a config file on the welcome email or doing a QR scan. And then Blf Settings, this is where I can actually change the buttons that appear on my desk phone if I were to have a desk phone, which I currently do. So I can see and adjust my own buttons from my web client. This actually is new. This didn't exist a few versions ago. Before, a system admin or somebody like us would have to do it for that individual. Now an individual can make their own button mappings changes. You can simply choose from a drop-down menu what it is you're trying to program. Based on what you choose, other options may appear. I can delete buttons. I can move buttons by simply clicking on that and dragging it around. So very easy to manage the buttons for an individual user. And lastly, really is just to help, which just simply opens up a web page on 3CX's website to give you more information about the web client. And that is pretty much going to do it. So there will be some other videos coming out, one specifically for the web client. I already have one out for the PC software. Go to our website, acctelecom.com. We do have a YouTube channel as well. I believe there's a link on our website for that. And you can see some other videos that have been done out there. But thank you for joining us.